you have just seen is only the prologue of the game. So that awesome stuff is only happening in the first few quests. What the trailer shows you is really our stage, the Night City. You know, this gigantic city built of 6 completely unique districts, surrounded by the 7th one that we call the Badlands. As a player, you are meeting Jackie. Jackie's your friend. Now, they together are trying to reach out for something that is very precious. They are trying to reach out for this chip of immortality, this gateway to eternal life. Jackie introduces you to Fixer Dexter Deshawn. He's a very important person in the social ladder of Cyberpunk. He is able to provide the player with various jobs and contracts to be able to gather money, to be able to modify their bodies, push themselves to the limits, to put their hands on the chip. But as you can expect, not everything goes as planned, and to see it, you will have to play the game.
There are an awful lot of really cool things in this trailer, and there's a few that I would just love to talk about a little bit more for the people at home. So let's start with talking about a gang called the Mox. Now, we see a few flashes of them in this trailer. I personally think they're really cool and one of my favorites, but can you give us a little bit more information about them?
Oh yes, so the Mox is one of the gangs that player is going to interact with throughout the game. The Mox is the gang that has been formed in 2076 after death of Elizabeth Borden. She was called Lizzie. Now, and she was protecting working guys and girls from harassment, from abuse, and the gang is really continuing her mission. And as a player, you are going to interact with that gang, meet multiple different NPCs, and craft your own relationship with them, and understand what they are all about.
So earlier on, you did mention a 7th district, a place called the Badlands. Now, we saw a few shots of this in the trailer, but I'd love for you to give us a bit more detail about the district outside of the city walls.
Okay, so the Badlands is this like dead, dried out space going around the whole Night City. And as a player, you'll be able to traverse that space in your car or motorcycle. This is a space that is inhabited by the nomads. Nomads are living in different families, and they are traveling across that space in convoys made out of the cars and motorcycles. And as a player, you'll be able to traverse and access different type of open world content that has been prepared specifically for you to get that awesome feel of the Badlands as an area.
In the trailer, we also saw like a completely metal creature. Now, he didn't look like he was from the Maelstrom gang. This looked like something else. So please tell the people at home, who is this giant metal monster?
Okay, so that big dude, that was Adam Smasher. He has been introduced in pen and paper in Cyberpunk 2020 by our senpai Mike Pondsmith.
Which is my exact birthday.
Adam Smasher is a fully converted cyborg. He was always a loyalist of Arasaka. And time has changed, and in 2077 he had to find his own space in Night City. But to find out, you'll have to play the game.
In this trailer, we do see some flashes of a Ripper Doc called Victor Vector. I think if people have watched our previous gameplays, they might remember him. But I'd really like for you to give the people at home some more information about what Ripper Docs are and how they'll be interacting with them when they play Cyberpunk.
So Ripper Docs in our game, they are surgeons. They are like a specific type of a job in the social ladder of Cyberpunk. They are accustomed and specialized in replacing limbs to the metal ones. They can basically update your body, enhance your body, change you into this walking war machine. And as a player, you are going to meet different kind of Ripper Docs in the game, craft your own relationship with them. Some of them are like important characters for a story. Through that, you will invest eddies that you're gathering to turn your body into this tool that allows you to survive on the streets of Night City.
Pavel, thank you so much for joining us. I know you'll be back later in the episode because you're going to be helping us to analyze the Braindance gameplay. But before that, we do have some news to share. Earlier in the year, we announced that if you pick up Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One, you'll be able to play it on Xbox Series X when the console launches. And just in case you missed it, it will be the same for PlayStation players as well. If you pick up Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation 4, you'll also be able to play it on PlayStation 5 when the console launches. And that's not all. There will be a free upgrade for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, but we'll have more details on that soon.
To Night City.
Before we reveal our first look at the Braindance gameplay and welcome back our developers for a chat, there is just one more thing we want to announce. Something that we've been working on in secret for a while. We are very excited to announce our partnership with Studio Trigger and Netflix to bring you Cyberpunk Edgerunners, a standalone anime set in the Cyberpunk universe, which we've been working on for some time now. Edgerunners is due to launch in 2022, but for some more information, let's go to the team in Tokyo.
Hi, my name is Saya Elder. I am the Japan-based producer for Cyberpunk Edgerunners. What I do basically on this project is that I am a fixer, to put it in the words of the Cyberpunk universe. We are a game company. We are a bunch of nerds, and wherever there are nerds, there's going to be anime fans. So it was always a dream for us to make anime. When we began this project, we were certain that we didn't want to make a recreation of the game. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a standalone story set in the same universe. The stage is still Night City, but everything else is totally new. New characters, new story. I do like to think that it's going to be a great gateway for newcomers to come and check Cyberpunk game and also the Cyberpunk genre as a whole. Right now we're in Nakano, which is one of the biggest anime meccas of the world. I'm going to take you to Studio Trigger right now because we have the wonderful opportunity to talk to the dream team that will be bringing you this anime.
こんにちは。トリガーの代表取締役の大塚です。
監督の今石です。
キャラクターデザインを担当する吉成です。
ゲームのサイバーパンクのファンの方、今回初めて触れる方両方に満足していただけるようにアニメを作るつもりです。よろしくお願いします。
今回はそのサイバーパンクという僕らが10代の、一ファンにしか過ぎなかった頃に生まれたジャンル、そういうジャンルのものをまた、時代が何周もして作れるというのが非常に楽しみです。
トリガーも10年ということで、監督に今石、キャラクターデザインに吉成というトリガーの最強の布陣で、トリガー10周年にふさわしい作品にしていきたいと思います。お楽しみに。
Now it is time to show you some gameplay of Braindance. This is a feature that you'll experience when you play Cyberpunk 2077. Braindance is essentially a recording of somebody else's experience. It allows you to relive their sense of sight, smell, touch, and even hearing, all thanks to a special device. After the gameplay, I will be welcoming back Pavel Sasko, and will also be joined by Patrick Mills, our senior quest designer and all-round lore master, who will be helping to answer your questions and give you some explanation on how you'll be interacting with Braindance when you play Cyberpunk 2077. So, let's take a look.
Plan's simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out. And we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
And remember, everything on full blast. They'll spot us extra for a wicked adrenaline high.
Okay, on you go. Down! Everybody! On the ground! I want to see you kissing the flooring! Money! Now! Or I will fucking drop you! I swear to God! Well, yeah, hey...
I swear to God.
Now! Before I blow your fucking head off!
Who thinks this is gameplay? Or a cutscene?
Ah!
Slow, deep breaths. Your cortisol and adrenaline spiked, but the soft activated your hormone blockers. Nothing happened. You're alive and well.
That was too much. Could feel the guy's pain, his stress, his hope. Hope wrapped up in something else.
Mm-hmm. Probably took a booster just before.
So it was kind of a
You'll be fine.
in-game cutscene.
Got everything set up?
Ooh.
Let's switch over to editing mode.
I hope we can fix the little blurry sides that they got going on for some of the stuff. It's like very, very slight.
I'll sever the link to the BD roller's
It's like a
sensory
depth of-
array.
well, here you can
You'll
notice
be
it
able to
pretty
look around
strongly.
freely. Whole scene's yours. Full cam control in analysis mode, so move around, zoom in and out, whatever else you come up with. Think of it as your own little sandbox. So analysis mode, you control playback. Can even pause when you feel the need. Then you use the editor console to unpause. Try it.
Oh, maybe the blurriness makes
Plan
sense.
simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out. And we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
Preem as hell, right? Well, that's not all. You can speed things up or rewind, whatever you like. Give it a try. Rewind, roll it back to the top. All good, neat. Now try fast forwarding a bit.
Plan simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out.
Okay. You can also reset the recording. That'll take you right back to the beginning. Try it. Now for some fun. This here's why you came in the first place. In analysis mode, you get to view and even scan details of the enviro recorded by the BD roller. Focus on the heat, the gun this gonk gets from his buddy at the beginning. Now scan it.
Plan simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You
Like,
go
are you
in,
actually
snatch the
able to
cash,
hear me or
get out.
not?
And we sell
That's all
the
I
BD to those
need
psycho
to
freaks
know.
and remember,
I mean, stream sound.
Okay, right here. Excellent. Let's move on. Now heads up. In analysis mode, you can ferret out background noise and conversations if the roller got close enough. This tech records everything, every little detail, even the sights and sounds the roller was never aware of. To see the sources of the recorded sensory signals, switch to the audio layer in the editor. Go ahead and try that now. Okay,
I wonder
good.
if this was,
Now
like,
you should see
intended
several sound
visual
signatures in the
gameplay, or
store.
if they're still gonna
Choose
smooth
one
out
and
this
hone in on
process,
it.
'cause things do be looking a little blurry right now.
Pack of 6, case of Brosif, and a couple of zappers.
And also, is this like part of that run?
flavors. Cuddy
Or are you just
Down,
really
everybody!
having-
So, any thoughts?
Unbelievable. Seriously, like what's happening right next to me.
Yeah, it's how BD recording implants work. They pick up everything, all the elements in the background. Then an editor tweaks them, makes them pop. Keep playing with the sound, explore it a bit. We'll move on when you get bored.
What I see you kissing the flooring! Money! Never!
Sometimes you can analyze extra layers in the raw, stuff the roller's cyberware picked up.
Like what?
Ev's got Kiroshi optics that grab infrared, meaning you should be able to grab heat signatures from her recording.
Huh. Hella nice.
Scanning works on peeps, too. Walk up to the wounded chick. Try scanning her. Alright, next thing. Scroll forward to the part where our artist gets a lead injection.
Where I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Well, now! Fucking head
What
off!
happened to this guy was passed out at the end. So what did happen?
See that? They shot him and he never saw it coming. But you will. Here it comes. My favorite part of the game. See the blinking thing over the entrance? Surveillance cam. Must have caught our shooter. You'll see in a sec. Cam feeds to the screen behind the clerk. Roll back to where the screen's in the kid's field of vision, then scan it.
Ah, interesting. That's a lot of hacking, and this is like next level Batman research right there. This is good stuff.
His own Chumba shot him. Probably planned to all along. Must have got a nice slice of cred on the black market for a BD like this. BD freaks are ready to pay a preem for a real flatline. Anyway, if you've seen enough, you can exit. Yeah, it's impressive, right? It's too bad most of the BDs we do here are only good for flogging the log.
So Braindance is a pretty big part of the Cyberpunk universe. It's not just
How
something
massive is
used
this
for
game
adult
gonna be
films.
if we
There
do
is
that
an
shit
awful
to
lot
take
to it.
hours?
And there's two sides I'd really like you guys to help me explore. First is the lore. So how this actually fits into the universe, and then there's the gameplay side, so how players will be interacting with it. So Patrick, could you tell us more about the lore of Braindance?
I would love to. So in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, Braindance was invented way back in the early 2000s at UC Santa Cruz. It was developed as a way of recording a person's experiences and then playing them back for someone else so that they could relive them as though it was happening to them. It was originally used for things like therapy and prisoner rehabilitation, but by 2077 it's become this global media industry, including things like movies, mass entertainment, things like that, video games, some interactive things, and of course adult fare as well.
Anybody else think she looks
Now in our game we deal a lot with black brain dances, or XBDs as we call them, and there are different types of those, but the one that you saw in the trailer just there was a flatliner. Now that's where the person recording it actually dies during the recording, and it's popular with sort of an illicit kind of a thrill, but a mercenary can also use them for various things, and you'll see that in the game, of course.
And from the gameplay perspective, we have been working a lot throughout last years trying to figure out the best way how to use the Braindance in the game as a mechanic. So what we have settled on is this Braindance editor mode. As a player, you will be able to run the Braindance in the editor mode and see different clues that have been registered on the peripheral of given actor. Now, as a player, you can slide on the timeline of the recording, back and forth, trying to uncover different clues. And that clues are actually telling a story in the game. So, as a player, you will run different investigations that will lead you to different mysteries, and you will uncover them actually using that Braindance as a mechanics in the game.
So, as Pavel was saying, we use Braindance as a storytelling tool. It's not a collectible. It's not something where you're going to go in and you're going to play it and you're going to be like, I've seen this before. What we use Braindance for is to give you a keyhole into the life of the residents of Night City. And we can explore things like childhood trauma, religion, various philosophical ideas in a way that you might not otherwise experience in a story about a mercenary on the tough streets.
So we've tried to talk about some of the aspects that we think the community will find really exciting, but while you're both here, I'd love to know, what is it about Cyberpunk that you guys are really excited for? Patrick, why don't you start?
So one of the things that I'm most excited about in this game is the characters and the way they interact with the world. We've got this really interesting world that stretches all the way back to the Cyberpunk 2020 source material and all of these events and all of those things, but those don't mean anything unless they connect with characters. And so when we come up with a character, we start with their function. What is this person? What do they do in the story? But we don't stop there. We go back and we figure out, what was their childhood like? What was their upbringing like? What kind of obstacles did they face in this harsh reality, and did they overcome them? And how did they overcome them, or did they not overcome them, and why? And you can see all of those things in their environment, in their dialogues, in sort of how they operate in the world. And we come up with that for all of our characters. Now you look at someone like Victor Vector, and you're going to see stories about his past in his environment and in his dialogue. We come up with that stuff even if we don't use it in the game, because it helps inform us as to who these characters are.
And for me, I would not be myself if I would not say that I'm the most excited about our quests. Like with our Witcher 3 team, with Patrick and like everybody that has stayed with us since the Witcher 3 time, we really have grown so much. We have learned so much, and we have used all that experience to put them into the quests that we have made. And you will not find really a filler in this game. Like everything has a meaning. Like we put so much effort into making sure that everything is rewarding, is interesting, is talking about characters, as Patrick said, is talking about worlds, is talking about emotions, like touching the player in a really, like a real way. And I just can't wait to find out what you think.
Pavel, I know you mentioned story and quests and writing quests, and when I was last in the studio, I had a look and I saw a notebook on your desk, and I would love for you to show everybody this notebook.
Okay, well, you asked for it. So this is my notebook. It says Salsa Quest Designer. The reason is because I dance salsa, and I'm a quest designer, so you know. So I started this notebook actually when we were really starting Cyberpunk. At the very beginning, I wrote like a first note, and it says, pretty much something along the lines of that we're starting with a prototype. And then, I kept on basically noting things that we've been working on for like next years. I remember once when our concept artists actually approached me and they said that they want to take a look on my notebook. I was like, what for actually? And they took some pictures and they told me, yeah, well, because we are looking for a reference material for notes of a psychopathic killer. so yeah, well, you may find maybe some of my notes in the game.
Nice. I hope they translate.
Pavel and Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. I'm pretty lucky because I have read some of the stories that you and the team have written for Braindance, and I'm pretty excited for people to discover them. But before we do finish today's episode, there is just one more thing we'd like to talk about. Earlier in this episode, I mentioned that media have been getting hands-on with the opening of Cyberpunk 2077, and they should be posting their impressions right about now. And if you missed anything from today's episode, don't worry, we'll be uploading everything to our channels very soon. And finally, on behalf of everybody at CD Projekt Red, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us for this, the very first episode of Night City Wire. But don't worry, we'll be back with episode 2 in just a few weeks. So, we shall see you soon.
Pre-order. Alright. This was actually quite underwhelming. Guys, this better not be about Stadia development time, I swear.
But don't worry, we'll be back with episode 2 in just a few weeks. So, we shall see you soon.
Yeah, I think they delayed it so that Stadia could get it with everybody else at the same time, but who knows? Maybe they're doing that third person like we all keep asking. Sigh and a half. What's this? Go back to
That's it for The Wire. Hey everyone, welcome back to Twitch Gaming. My name is Jesse Cox, your host for this post show.
What's this?
We have got a lot to talk about. Mostly because what time is it? 9:25? Can I say this yet? They said it. People have played the game. People have played the game. I've played the game. So I know a lot. I have a lot of answers for you. If you're saying to yourself, I have a lot of questions, hopefully and when Philip joins me, we can talk about those. Philip is the senior quest designer
I see.
for Cyberpunk.
So I'm the only loser who doesn't have
crazy
access.
with
Damn
it.
Time to email
We have a
CDPR.
bunch of things we want to talk about. As you can see, we have Twitch polls, Twitch chat. If you're over there, I see you
also, I guess
right
check
now
out this guy. I don't know
spamming away. But if you have questions or thoughts, by all means, I would love to hear what you think. And I will try my hardest to answer the questions that I can. Yeah.
I
So
like his, like, studio
right away,
setup, though.
what
Very
you
nice.
saw there, the just really quickly rundown of what's going on.
Whatever.
At the top, we have the trailer, and in the trailer,
Very
you got to
nice,
see
huh?
some more of the different quests and things that you would go on. All of it's from the intro, y'all. Everything that you saw in that trailer was from at least what I played the first 4 hours of the game. I was like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. So you have questions about that? I got answers for you. We learned about the Moxies and how they run, I don't want to say seedy underbelly, because it's definitely not. They definitely have some sort of control over the city, but they're all former and or current sex workers who are running a bar that you have to go to at some point in the intro. And then we learned some more about kind of the brain dance and what you'll be doing with that. And
Let's see.
I will say, one of the coolest parts of... They didn't really... See, right there, there's the Moxie bar that you can go to. And you can sort of see the way the city looks. I almost just want to let this run through and shut up.
But we are. They just don't know it yet. But if you got the cojones and you know how to use them, you can do damn near anything.
Unless you catch a bullet.
Even then, you go out with a bang, right?
You know, you can make heaps more eddies as a motivational speaker.
Yo, Mr. V, a pleasure.
So what's the gig, Dex? You meant to come out in one piece? How about we go over the plan?
There's this prototype tech, a biochip to be precise. Job's to grab it.
Guessing it belongs to a corp.
Arasaka.
We're robbing some heavy hitters.
Thought you could blackmail me, fucker?
High risk, high reward. First rule of the afterlife. Ka-ching, baby.
Goes without saying, we do this on the hush. Ideally, no bodies, not a one.
Sounds simple enough.
He's lit, assholes!
Is it gonna be dangerous?
Don't you worry, mi amor. We're bulletproof. Get your ass moving now!
What the fuck just happened in there?
Can't stop digging Night City.
Fucking major leagues. Happy now, Jackie?
Yep, that's fucking high! Time to bail!
Oh my god, we're so fucked.
Dex, what the fuck?
Game risky, V.
And you, who are you?
Fuck. It's gonna be amazing. So based on what I have played already of the game, just give you a really quick example. I don't know if we can go to like a specific point in that trailer, but there's one point where there's like a dude and it looks like you're on a basketball court and your character kind of pushes him. That is one of the many examples of how you interact with people in the city. So in that scenario, you play as a corpo, right? And so you are trying to land at the Moxie's Bar, and you can't land on the street, so your hovercraft lands on a basketball court kind of above the bar, and you, or the club, and so you land in the middle of a basketball game, and these guys come up to you like, what are you doing? And you have the option to engage with them or not. And depending on how you handle it, things happen, right? You could, you know, be the corporate guy and not at all be like, I don't even deal with these people. Or you could just get in a fight. Like, there's so many amazing ways to handle stuff. It's actually really neat. Going back to the brain dance, right? The way the brain dance is set up in the game, it isn't just like, you know, you walk in a room and a thing happens. There's a whole storyline that leads into it, and the entire time it feels like I don't even know. I don't want to say it feels like you're in the Matrix, because that's not at all what it's. But it has that vibe. Like, it is so neat to go through the process of, you know, getting into the club, meeting your contact, and you do like this kind of flirtatious dance thing, and then she invites you downstairs, and you're like, I don't know what is about to happen right now, and you go down. And she leads you to go meet the character you saw during the brain dance segment. And it starts you on this journey of like figuring out what a brain dance is. And as you can see, this is just one part of the game. It's one part of the game where you can kind of go into people's memories and experience what they experienced and rewind, highlight certain parts. I imagine you'll be using it to uncover the mystery of this world. One that hopefully will lead us more to Johnny Silverhand and everything that he brings to it, and probably the mysterious MacGuffin, right? That stick that contains immortality, whatever that may be, however that works. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out, because that's, you know, that's going to be one of the big parts of the game. Okay. Are there any other amazing comments? If you are in need of us to discuss anything, if you have any questions when we continue on, let me know. I will definitely say right now that I think it's safe to say that I and several other people you may know and love are in Cyberpunk. I can say that, right? I can. It's 9:32. I can say that, right? We're in the game, and not just our voices, literally us. Y'all have no clue. All right, Taco Tate 13. How long is the prologue? Is there any side quest during it? Okay, right off the gate, just to give you a rundown of how I played. In the demo, Will we be able to join the gangs shown? Great question. I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to ask Philip. Questions for Phil. Will we join the gangs? Going back to the prologue. In Lux We Trust. I got you. I will get you an answer. Going back to the prologue. I'm not going to spoil anything. I will simply say that depending on who you choose, a Corpo, a Nomad, or a Street Kid, you have like a different intro, right? So I chose a Corpo just because I wanted to see what it would be like, because I'll probably end up being a Nomad or a Street Kid. So I chose a Corpo, and you have like an opening scenario where you can learn more about the corporate lifestyle, right? And then what happens is you something happens, right? Something occurs, and you and your friend Jackie have to make a big score. And during that process, while you're talking with Jackie, the map is open. Like the minute you meet, like Jackie's, you meet him at like a food stand, you have a conversation, and from that point on, he's like, yo, get in the car. And the two of you can drive. And from that point on, go wherever you want. If you expand out to the whole map, their little mini quests, it is straight up, you know how in Witcher, when you get in that first zone, in Witcher 3, when you go to the first zone, and it's like, alright, I could follow this little story thing, or I could spend 12 hours running around doing whatever. It's like that. It's like that. I know if you're like me, you didn't actually get to the next area, the main story area, for a day or two, right? You took your time, and that is exactly what this game is. I'm told. Everyone, I'm being told that you will get the emote. You can spam all you want, but it's not going to help you. You're good. You're good. Trust me. You will stand a chance to get the emote. It is fine, right? You don't got to get crazy with it. How would you describe the soundtrack? The soundtrack is a game that it is a lot. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's a lot. It's what you would expect from a game where you get in a car and have to drive around a bunch. There are radio stations, and on those radio stations are a lot of music. The general music of the game is exactly what you would expect Cyberpunk to sound like, right? It has the synth wavy noises you would expect from a Cyberpunk game. But if you jump in your car, you can switch radio stations and you can hear all sorts of music. Is it different genres? Yes, there are different genres. I think the only genre I didn't hear was country, but who knows? Maybe there's future country in the game. I don't know. I don't know what future country songs would be like, but they could be there. I don't know. Is there any level of car customization? I didn't customize my car at all, but I will ask that to Phil. Car customization? Great question. I'll ask it. I'll be sure to get on that and ask it. And, okay, anything else? Any other questions of importance that we should be definitely asking Philip Weber about when he comes to join us? Because I'm excited to ask questions too. I think that going back to some of the other things I was talking about, if you have any other questions, hit me up. Yeah, because we gotta jump to this interview and we'll talk to Philip Weber about this. But if you have any other questions, by all means ask them. I'm really excited. So, okay. Let's sit down and chat with Philip Weber, Senior Quest Designer, CD Projekt. Philip, are you there? Hello, from across the world. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, I'm here. Oh, it's really nice to be here. Now I can see you.
Yeah, I can see you're in the coolest place on Earth.
Yeah, you know.
Is that just the offices? Where is that?
Well, you know, if you're making a game like Cyberpunk, you have to get inspired, so we kind of try to make it nice for ourselves.
I can see that. I'm inspired. I wish I lived in a world like that. It's the coolest place I've ever seen. Okay. We have a lot of questions, a lot of things to talk about. I want to get these out of the way right now because chat had these questions going into this. When it comes to different gangs, will we be able to join those gangs?
So it's a bit complicated. So of course, we're always about story and characters. So you'll be dealing with lots of people from these gangs. So as an example, people who watched our gameplay demo from 2 years ago, they might remember Royce or Dum Dum, people that are belonging to the gang called Maelstrom. And you'll be dealing a lot with them, but we didn't want to have it so, they at some point just give you a paper that you sign and now you're a member of a gang. Because the thing is, you're playing as V, who's a mercenary in the city, and mercenaries value their independence. So you will be dealing with lots of gangs, but it's not that easy to just, become specifically a member of one gang.
Sure. Can you go into, again, just talking about customization? I know one of the questions that we had from chat was car customization. Can you customize your car in any way? But just in general, can you go into customization? Because when I played it, one of the things I noticed I can talk about all the customization things now, right? It's like after 9:30 here on the West Coast. All right, y'all, from the minute you get in the game, I spent 45 minutes customizing a character. I didn't have that much time. I wasted it customizing a character. There's so many options. From the get-go, you can customize everything. And I mean everything. And you're probably saying to yourself, Jesse, everything? Everything can be customizable. Wink. So there's like a ton to do there up front, and then as you go through the game, from weapons to clothing to augments for those weapons and clothing to hats, face masks, everything that you can make about your V is customizable. How in depth is that? Because there's a lot there, and I only scratched the surface.
Honestly, I would say it is really in-depth. Like, we're always saying, Cyberpunk, we want to make a true, proper RPG of the future, and part of that is we want to give you as much freedom as possible. So, you can create a character that looks exactly like you want him to look like. You can choose your body, you can choose your voice, you can choose details like piercings, scars, how your body looks like. So we want to offer a lot of stuff up front, but then the thing is, since we're making an RPG, we also want to offer a lot for fans of RPGs. So of course, at the start of the game, you'll be able to choose your base attributes that you can then build upon throughout the game. And I can go into a little bit of detail there when it comes to how deep it goes. So
sure,
as an example,
I'm sure we'd love to hear. Yes.
All right. So as an example, you have your intelligence attribute, and that as an example would help you a lot with, let's say, net running. So if you want to play a really good hacker. So you can, of course, get that attribute, but then within that attribute, you have perks. And these perks have multiple trees where you can especially now specialize what kind of netrunner you want to play. So these perks, as an example, might make you be able to take over cameras and do lots of different things. And I think we added so much choice there because we have this fluid class system where basically you're not supposed to, or you're not, stuck to playing a single class. You can just choose the attributes, skills, perks, wherever you want. And on top of that, because of course, story is really important for us, these attributes can also be part of dialogues. So as an example, if you have a high intelligence attribute, sometimes there might be choices popping up in dialogues where maybe, you can now ask a question that would be more for a netrunner. And only you who has that intelligence attribute can ask that question. And then, of course, on top of that, you choose your life path, which, you can, as an example, be a nomad who starts the game outside of Night City and has to try and get into the city, or as a corpo, or as a street kid. And all of these change the beginning of the game, but then throughout the game, you now also get your choices in dialogues for your specific life path. So you can even, role play your character even deeper. And then to come back to vehicles, we do at the moment not plan right now the kind of customization, you would expect from, let's say, Need for Speed Underground, where you choose specifically the tires of your car. But it is important for us that, of course, players do have freedoms with how they, as an example, interact with vehicles. So, of course, if you have a really high body attribute and you're really strong, you can rip open doors from driving cars, steal them, or if you have a lot of, engineering skill, you can steal cars that might be locked. But, those don't belong to you. But, of course, you can own your own vehicles, and you can own different vehicles. You can buy them, or, of course, maybe, sometimes in the story, in quests, you might get different kind of cars as your reward.
Go to the cars for a minute. There is, at least what I noticed, you can steal a car that's like a parked car. That you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to steal a car from like a person driving, is there like a secret dice roll or something behind the scenes? Because sometimes it's like, nah, dude, you can't steal from this guy. He's like, I'm locking the doors. No. Do you have a chance of completely failing that?
Yeah, because it basically depends on your RPG skills. So as an example, the better the lock of the car, of course, it has a higher, let's say, body attribute you need. And body can, as an example, mean how strong you are. And if you're a really strong, leveled up character, you can just rip open that door. But if you're weak, that lock will hold, so you can't get in.
This is probably not pre-recorded, actually.
And we had some other questions. Just get to some of these. Are there pets in the game? Can I have a pet when I play this?
So at the moment, we're not planning to have pets, because the thing is, this actually has a big story reason. So not without revealing too much, animals are actually quite rare in the world of Cyberpunk. So there's actually a few dialogues where you talk about, birds were the first ones to go. So this is actually part of the story that only, let's say, the rich, like the super rich in Night City, can even afford to have pets, and they're like a pretty expensive commodity.
Cool. Does it have photo mode? I think you've already mentioned this before in previous things, but I'll ask again, does it have photo mode?
Yes, absolutely. Cyberpunk has a photo mode. Because of course, we're saying with our customization and with the way that you can customize your character, with the way that you can use gear, because of course, you can get cool t-shirts, jacket, sunglasses, whatever, you can make your character look the way you want. We kind of also want you to be able to show off your character. So that's why a really robust and cool photo mode was really important for us.
What about flight vehicles, or vehicles that are not specifically cars on the ground?
Mm-hmm. So there are vehicles like that in the game. They're called AVs. And again, they're actually only for the super upper echelon of people in Night City. So you, as a mercenary, you will not be able to fly them yourself. But it might be possible that as part of stories, you might be riding sometimes in some of those AVs.
So there probably is some.
Yeah. The next question
right?
is how vertical is the game? Like how much verticality is there? We see these tall buildings. Having played it, I don't know the extent, and so I'm going to rely on you for this. But having played through it, that was one of my first questions too. I kept seeing all the tall buildings. I kept seeing like all these examples of massive skyscrapers in trailers and in previous footage, and was like, all right, but is it just a thing that's there, right? Is it just background stuff? So I spent a lot of time walking around inside of buildings, and I will simply say, it appears from what I saw that you can walk in every single one of them to a limit, because sometimes they're like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed in. But yeah, I have to ask you, can you just go to the top floor of every single one of these?
Well, the thing for us, it's, when we actually make a game, we always want to give you something worthwhile to do. So we're basically saying if we have a really good idea for, as an example, a quest or some other activity that could take place in this building, then we're going to open up that building. And as an example, V's mega building, where V's apartment takes place, has multiple floors. You're actually up really high. You have a really nice view from your apartment. But we don't want to open up just every single building in Night City, because then you'd just, enter a million apartments with nothing to do, and you just get confused. Because for us, it's more important to really, if we actually lead you somewhere, there should actually be something really interesting to find. But, suffice to say, there's still lots and lots of buildings and interiors that you can get into, and, of course, also really high ones.
Yeah. And much like The Witcher, for example, the maps had, as you can see on the screen right now, here's some of the worst sections. They're on the map. When you like scroll out on the map, you can see exclamation points and question marks, very similar to Wild Hunt, and you can travel around and just discover things. And from what I found, it seems like all of them have purpose in expanding upon the world. They aren't just like you found a random guy who's going to give you like an item, right? They all add to the story in some way, and I thought that was fascinating. And so designing these quests and going through, what was the goal in making all of these? Because there's a lot, and it didn't seem to me like any of them were fluff. So like how did you sit down to try to go through all this stuff and come up with a way to tell this story through all those different quests that are there?
So as an example, as a quest designer, I can talk about how we filled the world with these, smaller side quests that maybe sometimes would only take 5 or 10 minutes. And when we were actually designing those, our lead quest designer and our quest director were actually giving us also a list of, as an example, interesting topics that maybe don't come up that much in the main storyline. So let's say, religion and cyberware. How do religions that we have right now interact with the knowledge that sometimes suddenly people can maybe almost be immortal? And this, as an example, could be an interesting topic for a side quest. And then we do it organically from there. Because I think one thing that maybe makes our quest also interesting is that we don't have these strict rules. This is what a quest needs to be.
Really?
This is where it has to be. It has to have 1.5 combat encounters. We actually try to make it really natural, to really say, okay, is this a story worth telling? Is this something interesting? Does this say something about the world or about the characters? And if all of that is yes, and of course then if it's also fun to play,
so we could
then
try
this
way,
is a quest we want to
better?
do. And I think this is kind of how we approach all the content in Night City. So essentially everything you do should kind of tell you a little bit about the city.
I guess that could be a thing.
Sure. There is a question right now. Can we customize the voice? I will simply say from the bit that I got to play, you can customize either the feminine voice or the masculine voice. There were the two voice actors. And then it doesn't matter what V looks like. You can pick whatever voice of those two you want. At least that's what I got. Maybe you can go a little more in depth on that, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, exactly, as you said, because we said we do want for you to have the freedom to create the character you want to create, and that basically includes that you can choose the body you want to have, and then you can also choose the voice you want to have for that body, just so you can basically have the experience of playing exactly the character, exactly the V that you want to play as.
Sure. Another question. Does the character origin choice, Street Kid, etc., have an actual big impact? When I played as a Corpo, just to see what the Corpo life was like, the intro scenario, like I described earlier, you land on a basketball court, and you sort of go into the roof, into the club, and that's where your scene starts.
Oh no, I'm afraid he'll give him feedback, and they'll be like, guys, we need to push it again.
Go through the main entrance.
Apparently we gotta fix something.
You can use your Corpo attitude and essentially be like, I've been here before, I know how this works, and you don't have to deal with the Moxies, and you're like, nah, I'm right. So you can use that swagger that you have as a Corpo player, and you will get dialogue options. It will change events over the course of the game. So I imagine for those who played, a Nomad or a Street Kid, they would have similar different choices and added scenarios, and things would change based on who they were and their objectives. But yeah, if I screwed anything up, let me know.
No, it's exactly as you said. So as an example, the game starts in a completely different place. You're a completely different character. So without spoiling too much, because I don't want to take away from the experience, as a Nomad, you don't start in Night City. You start outside of Night City, outside of the borders, because Night City is actually in the future an independent city-state. So you actually first have to get through the border into Night City, and this is how you start the game. And as an example, as a Street Kid, you're already, you're known in the city. You start in Haywood, you start in a bar. And talking about bars, Banan, could you help me out a second? And basically, it was really important for us while Banan works.
Has he been back there this entire time?
Of course. We've been working on that joke.
Nice.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, where was I? So basically, it was really important for us to not just say, okay, this changes the beginning of the game. We really wanted to say, this is important for the rest of the game. So from the start to the end, you will have these choices. So as an example, we also tried to keep it natural. So if there will be a quest where you work more closely with, let's say, the higher echelon of Night City, so you might attend a board meeting, of course then someone who has a corporate background might have some additional choices there. Or if I have to work with one of the Nomad clans in the Badlands outside of Night City, then someone who comes from a Nomad background, understands their traditions, understands what it's about, and then of course has different choices. And sometimes this might just be for role-playing. Sometimes it's just a nice thing you can say, but other times it can actually have consequences, and it can influence how the quest and how the story progresses. So we always want to give you something new and something unexpected.
Cool. So One more question we have is, can you steal gears and stuff from inside shops and use them? What I experience is that the shop system and buying and selling seemed very Wild Huntish, in that there were the two sides of the screen, and you could sell and see what they had. You could see how much money they had to spend on things. When you scan the world, there's things you can pick up and steal.
Do you have
but
legs
I'll
and
leave this
arms?
question to you because you.
I mean, you have arms
know.
and you take the gun.
Is there
Do
anything
you have
you can
arms?
sort
You
of like
just
steal
look
from
down
shopkeep
and,
or
see stuff
you know
everywhere.
borrow from
I
one of
super
the
wonder.
various hackers out there?
Well, you know, so since this is the world of Cyberpunk, you can imagine that that would be a really, really bad idea. So if you remember our initial gameplay trailer, I guess there was someone trying to steal stuff and he was just shot dead. So we actually we didn't want to give you that option for now, and we really wanted to make shops something really convenient for you, where you can just buy and sell your gear. Because the thing is, you know, if you would now suddenly kill every shop owner while stealing, then there's no shop owners left. So, you know, we try to keep this as convenient as possible for you. And, you know, part of that is, of course, you know, also features from Wild Hunt moving into Cyberpunk. So as an example, if I see gear that I want to buy, let's say a gun, then I can, of course, you know, I immediately see comparison to the guns I currently have. So we just try to make the shops, you know, really useful for you.
Is there player housing?
Can you imagine stealing all the guys' things and killing all the shop owners?
Yeah.
I wonder if new people would take over as shop owners.
I mean, I can say V has an apartment, but right now, at the moment, we're not planning, you know, for you to buy different apartments. Because, you know, Cyberpunk's a very story-focused adventure. And, you know, just buying now new apartments and buying like a villa with a pool, as an example, for the story we're telling at the moment, didn't really fit that. But, you know, of course, you know, housing is something that always sounds cool. So, you know, I can never say that we might never do it. But for the moment, I think you'll have to live with the apartment that V has. But once you see that apartment, I think you'll be happy to see that it's a pretty cool place.
How big is the city?
So one apartment maybe somewhat customizable, but no more.
One of them being the Badlands, but like compared to Los Santos or
but that
other
doesn't mean you
games,
can't have like personal stash areas, like
massive city scales,
like small personal quarters, like little safe houses, you know.
I think we don't have an exact comparison because we never put someone in to measure the square meters. But it is a big city, so you know, as an example, when you see our trailers, when you see our gameplay, all the buildings you see at the horizon, they're not background. That's all part of the city, part of the map. And then, of course, Night City still has surrounding area called the Badlands.
One of those.
So it is a really, really big place. But, you know, also what was important for us is to actually make it a meaningful place. So everywhere you go, actually, it's something interesting. You don't just, you know, run around for 5 minutes with just finding the same buildings.
Yes,
our art team actually did a really, really amazing job planning the city. And as an example, to, you know, compare it to The Witcher Wild Hunt, where you had, as an example, the landscape of Velen, you had Novigrad, Skellige, these different countrysides. This is also kind of how we wanted to have our city districts appear. So they are very distinct. You can really feel like if I'm in Japantown, I know I'm in Japantown. If I'm in North Oaks, where, you know, let's say the rich people of Night City live, where they have their villas and where it's green and there's palm trees, it's really a very different feeling from being in Watson, where, you know, there's, let's say, Maelstrom gang shooting up some joint at the side of the road. So it was really, really important for us to have this big city, this really big place to explore. That's, of course, also why you have cars. But everywhere you go, it's really thought through. And I'm still amazed by our art team. Like a while ago, one evening when I was just, you know, getting ready to stop work, I was just starting the game and I walked through Kabuki, which used to be a Japanese part of the city, but actually a lot of Chinese inhabitants moved in. So you can actually see these different cultures actually shape this part of the town. And I just walked through and it was raining and I saw, you know, the neon lights and there were people on the side talking to me. And I spent 40 minutes just walking, let's say, in like this 2% of the whole city. So I actually think people will be able to explore a lot in our game.
Yeah, you realize how big the city is when you get out of a car and just walk through it, because there's so much to see and so many alleys and so many living, breathing people walking around and just going about their lives. It's wild. When it comes to attributes, we have another question. Can you reset them? Or can you reset your skills so we can try different styles of play?
Yes, of course. This is, of course, part again of why we want to give you
2.6
that much
dBs.
freedom. And of course, this freedom is that you can't, you can always reskill your character, because as I said before, we want to give you that fluid class system that actually gives you this power of experimentation. So as an example, if you want to play someone who's more like a cyber ninja, if you're really good with melee fights, if you want to use katanas, if you want to have a double jump or dash in the air, you can do that. But maybe sometimes I would actually now prefer to just try out a little bit more hacking, and then we don't want you to have to start a new game.
Okay, so
you
they
can
don't
actually
want you
do
to
that.
start a new game.
Yeah,
There is a
it's
respec
neat
option.
to go
But
through
can
and try
you
the
New
different
Game
things.
Plus
I learned
and
that,
just have everything?
I really enjoy hacking cameras, hacking
Because
people,
Witcher has
and
New
then
Game
watching
Plus.
them blow themselves up. It's truly
That is
enjoyable to
important.
not do anything and watch chaos happen. Someone in chat was asking, while you're going around the city, can you just get in general trouble? Yeah, you can get in trouble. You
like
can do
law
all sorts of
enforcement?
things that will get you in trouble. So yeah.
Oh shit,
We have another
GTA 5
question. What's
stars.
the money system, the economy like? Can you talk more about Eddies and how
There's
that-
also going to be multiplayer
Yeah,
down
so
the
basically,
lineup of this
in the
thing.
future of Cyberpunk 2077,
sounds
there's
like
a new
something
kind
fun.
of currency, which is the euro dollar, and you're mostly paying with that. In the past, let's say, without going super deep into world building, there have been many issues with, the economy collapsing. So actually, an interesting thing is that in Cyberpunk, people use cash a lot. So if you actually play the game, you'll see lots of cash going around. Of course, people, for convenience, they can also pay with other means. So sometimes, as an example, if you do a quest for someone, they'll pay you directly without having to do anything. You'll just see their eyes glow in blue, and suddenly you have a money transfer. So you do have these different systems, but people in the future of 2077 are very careful with how they use their money. So cash is still a very important factor.
I think it actually plays a role in the Corpo storyline, I believe, is the difference between
Yes.
like bank account money and physical currency.
Yeah, I actually have a really nice anecdote about that. That at the beginning in this corporate prologue, you get a load of cash, and the quest designer responsible for it just decided, okay, it'll be $5,000. But actually, someone from QA checked how much money is on these specific bills, and he said, actually, this would be way more than $5,000. So then, together with the quest designer, they went ahead and did the math. They said, okay, how thick is this money? And they actually checked, okay, how much money would that have to be? And I think then it was like 48,000 euro dollars. So, you can see, detail is very important for us.
Yes. Speaking of details, last question, collaborations with other games or Easter eggs within this. Will we find anything? Will we see a time traveling Siri flying around? Like what do you got for us?
Well, anything I would say now would basically be spoiling the experience. And I think the nice thing about Easter eggs is that you find them yourself. But we did hide some nice things in there. Some nice things you can find. As an example,
Siri
you said earlier
cameo
that you're in
confirmed
the game,
for a girl.
and
One of them, maybe both.
we went to very big lengths to really make your body. So the quest is about a very specific body part of yours. It's a very interesting story, a very moving story. So Night City is a very dark and gritty place, and it's important for us to show that. But the thing is, humor is still a part of this world, because if no one's ever having fun, then what is it about? So we want to have a really realistic place, and sometimes people can also be funny. So we also want to have some more funny things on the side as well.
Yeah, if you see a guy who looks like me in the game, please help him. Please help him out.
Yes.
Philip, thank you so much for joining us and sitting down and talking with us about Cyberpunk 2077. I think we're all really looking forward to it, and this was great. This was a great deep dive into the wire. So thank you, Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the great questions, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, chat. That is it for us. Thank you all for coming.
So now
out,
we know
hanging
everything
out,
there is to know.
Deep diving into the world of Cyberpunk 2077 with us. Thank you to Twitch Gaming for hosting this. This was great. You were all great. Remember, you stand a chance if you are co-streaming this or you're in chat right now of getting a Johnny Silverhand emote. So please keep doing what you're doing. I'd love to see all of you in chat right now.
I'm one of those.
That's it. Thank you to everyone for being a part of this, and we will
But
see
also,
you all
guys,
in the
Stay
future.
safe, stay happy,
Bye, everybody.
stay healthy forever. Right? Right? That's what it's about. Having a crazy year. Nice. Nice. Heard? You see that? See that? Confirmed. I can stream this. So, what do I think? I still really want third person. But it sounds like there's a whole crap ton of detail in this game. Like next level kind. But it did get pushed back, and maybe it's Stadia, maybe it's some other system they're gonna introduce. Maybe they just want to be in line with new consoles, because... And that's actually the most likely one, right? New consoles. And the fact that they're coming out sometime in November, and CDPR probably has dev kits for them, so they probably want to integrate compatibility on day one release, and for that they need more time to develop. But it might also coincidentally happen that that exact time was needed for everything, including Stadia. We will see. All I know is basically if you have a PC you're running anything anyway, but probably upgrades. Probably a 2080 Ti or Super is where you want to be for this to look great on your PC, which then means the kind of RAM and the kind of motherboard and CPU required for that graphics card. Well, might be easier to just buy a new console and coincidentally have this release around the same time. Could be also why they chose to do it. Alright,